Meet Elena. For 8 years, she has been battling a severe autoimmune condition. On the outside, she looks perfectly fine, but inside, her body is at war. She spends half her week managing doctor's appointments and trying new treatments that promise recovery, but deliver little more than side effects and medical debt. The physical exhaustion is heavy, but the isolation is heavier. She has had to cancel on her friends so many times that the invitations eventually stopped coming. She is trapped in a body that refuses to cooperate, quietly convinced that she is nothing but a burden to everyone she knows. Elena's experience mirrors a sequence of events recorded 2,000 years ago in the Gospel of Mark, the story of a woman with a chronic hemorrhage who had reached the end of her resources. When we strip away the sanitized versions of this miracle, the structure of the event reveals a specific pattern for how divine grace handles the people society prefers to keep invisible. The narrative begins with an urgent, high-stakes mission. Jesus is on his way to heal the dying 12-year-old daughter of Jairus, a powerful and named ruler of the local synagogue. Mark structures this chapter using a technique called intercalation. He establishes an urgent path for a high-status figure, only to have that timeline suddenly broken and wedged apart by a separate, anomalous event. This creates an immediate contrast. The most important man in town is forced to wait because the divine procession is halted by a person with no social standing at all. To understand the weight of this interruption, we have to look at the first-century reality of this woman's condition. According to Levitical purity laws, her constant bleeding meant she was legally classified as ritually unclean. This impurity was contagious. Any chair she sat on, any garment she touched, or any person she brushed against in a crowd would also become ritually unclean. For 12 years, she lived in a state of social starvation. She was cut off from the synagogue, banned from family dinners, and denied even the most basic human touch. Her condition did more than make her sick. It systematically erased her social existence, turning her into a walking ghost in her own community. Mark describes her suffering using the specific Greek word mastix. Mastix literally translates to a whip or a scourge, the same word used to describe Roman torture. Her own body had become an instrument of active, inescapable physical pain. While enduring this internal torture, she exhausted her finances on a medical system that left her worse off than when she started. This is why she takes such an extreme risk. She crawls through a crowded, dusty street, violating every purity law as she reaches out to touch the edge of a stranger's coat. This was an act of dangerous desperation, triggered only when every human effort had failed. Here, the two figures collide, the high-status urgency of Jairus versus the ritually unclean, rule-breaking interruption of an unnamed woman. Jesus reacts by breaking the expected protocol. He does not rush past her to reach the dying child. Instead, he halts the entire public procession. By stopping, he demonstrates that to the divine, a marginalized person's pain is never an interruption to the mission. Grace ignores the human social hierarchy, pausing the most important man in the city for the sake of the most invisible woman in the crowd. Jesus refuses to let her quietly slip back into the shadows after she is healed. He stops, looks her in the eye, and calls her daughter. In a single word, he dismantles 12 years of isolation and names her as a member of the family. This pattern of restoration applies to Elena and anyone else currently reaching out from the dark. The great physician responds to our exhaustion, not to a checklist of social or religious perfection. If you know someone trapped in the isolation of chronic pain, share this with them. Remind them that they are seen and they are not alone.
'Cause we walk by faith and not by sight, into the gray, into the